Welcome to LaQuita's Toolbox, where we deliver relevant content in the form of tools that empower entrepreneurs to elevate personally and professionally. Good is only good until greater is envisioned. You know there's another level in you. Here we discuss the tools to get you there. Lean in as LaQuita and her guests present you with strategies and insight for unlocking your full potential to realize your boldest dream. Welcome back to another amazing episode of LaQuita's Toolbox. I am your host, LaQuita Monley, and it is a fabulous day in the Lord on today, y'all. You know what I say. Today is a day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Amen. And that is exactly what we're doing on today. I'm excited about the very special guest that I have in studio with me today. And for a number of different reasons. And hopefully, prayerfully, we'll talk about all of those reasons in this particular interview. But before we jump in and invite Mr. Ahmad Rashad to the stage, let me take a moment to thank our sponsors at Covenant Press. They are a faith-based Christian apparel and accessory shop where we as believers can shop online for clothing and accessories that allow us to express the love of Jesus Christ. Go out to www.covenant-press.com. Again, that's www.covenant-press.com. Shop until you drop, but don't click off those pop-ups too quickly because they contain valuable discount codes that can be used at checkout to gain discounts on your purchases with Covenant Press. Hey, Mr. Ahmad Rashad, aka my producer.
We're live.
Come on now. We are live. Welcome to the studio, sir.
We in here. That's what I used to say, like back in the day in my pre-Christ life.
First of all, I'm gonna let Ahmad introduce himself, and we're going to talk to people today, to my audience. If you are a podcaster or you're thinking about becoming a podcaster, don't leave now. The good stuff is just getting started. Don't leave now. The good stuff is just getting started. And we're going to talk about the journey that's required to get to a place where you are a successful independent podcaster. Let me put that out there. A successful independent podcaster. But
that's good.
Ahmad, go ahead, and for those that might not know who you are, introduce yourself. Because the party is here. You
we in here.
We in here. You know, we in here like swimwear. We in here. So go ahead, introduce yourself and let the people know who you are and what you do.
Yeah. So my name is Ahmad Rashad. I am a producer at My Producer. Our website is myproducer.biz. We create audio and video content for coaches, those in the self-development industry, we say. So like your therapist, psychologist, anyone that mentors, if you're trying to help someone with self-help, self-acceptance, avoiding imposter syndrome, just any type of self-development, we really like working with those individuals. And we also work with some small businesses and large businesses as well. We acquired businesses such as pulmonary. We provided some pulmonary preventions, a medical facility here in Dallas. We can provide some consultations with them, working with the Juneteenth Museum, providing some assistance with them, Loris College, and also Indeed. And so some of the big companies and some small companies as well. But mostly we like working with coaches.
Awesome. So look, Ahmad is the truth. You may be saying, look, who is this? I mean, he's not Ahmad Rashad, the sportscaster.
Not that one. I'm sorry to let you down.
Not that one. But I tell you what he has to say has far more valuable than what that brother has to say in this industry. Right. That brother is in his industry. You are an expert in a totally different industry. We know LaQuita's Toolbox. Mr. Ahmad Rashad and his team at My Producers produced LaQuita's Toolbox for quite some time, actually. Yeah. He helped me get started. And that was, I think about it now, and it's so funny. It wasn't funny then. It was not funny.
Oh, we're going way back. Yeah, we're going way back.
Because people often tell me like, "Oh, LaQuita, it looks so easy. You do." It's like, yeah, I could give you a few folks, and they can tell you it was not like that at all.
Yeah.
For me, podcasting is a great tool, but it is a lot of work, and the biggest work is the mindset, and that was one of the things that Ahmad helped me with. You could be great in a whole lot of things and very confident in a whole lot of things, but when you step into something different, I can't speak for nobody else, I can just speak for me. When I step into something different, even though I know is the direction that God is pushing me to go, I still have some apprehension about it and overcoming that apprehension. And I remember the first time you were talking to me about, what is your persona gonna be? If you only
Mhm.
knew the thoughts that was running through my head when you said that, it's like,
Right.
what is he talking about? Like, what do you mean?
A
My
persona.
persona, my avatar, who I'm gonna be on the mic.
Right.
That was just hard for me to process. That was truly hard for me to process. And then, developing what my intro was going to be, what my outro was going to be, picking the music, what's the best day to put the podcast out, all of these different technical bits that you have to go through in order to develop a great podcast, putting together a trailer, so many different things. And these are things that we don't put a lot of thought into when you say, hey, I want to be on a podcast. You
Right.
think you just grab the mic and go to talking, kind of, sort of, but it's a little bit more into that. So
Yeah,
why
a
don't
little
you
bit more
talk
than that.
to us more about that process?
Yeah. So one thing that, and by the way, I really do appreciate your journey, LaQuita, because when we first started, it took like 6 months before you and I really kind of
Yeah,
got the rubber to the road. Like,
because I
I was
was
like,
not.
hey, time to meet, right?
Yeah.
And to be honest, like a lot of podcasters do that. So you're not the only one. Like majority of the podcasters I work with, um, they kind of have that apprehension or maybe thinking a little bit more. I've now made that a part of the program. Like now I understand because working with over 150 podcasters over the last 2.5 years, you start to figure out, okay, like why are podcasters going through what you went through? And I didn't know that. Like, so I was trying to understand what you were going through. And so now I have a better understanding. And this may not be for you, but for a lot of podcasters, people who want a podcast, um, they deal with a lot of self-doubt
Yeah.
and a lot of self-reflection,
Mm-hmm.
and it all ties into, and self-reflection is good, but it ties into that self-doubt, and that
Mm-hmm.
self-doubt ties into fear.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've realized is it comes from procrastination. And then when I did some more research on what procrastination really is, procrastination, number one, let me free you all from procrastination is not laziness.
Mm-mm.
It is
Not at
not
all.
laziness at all. So when I realized that it comes from procrastination and it's not laziness, so you don't have to feel bad. It's not a negative thing, right? Because we all thought procrastination is negative. But really what procrastination is just you're not seeing the true value of what the task is
Mm-hmm.
greater than something
Mm-hmm.
else. That's
Mm-hmm.
really what that is. So when you were going through what you were going through, you were like you went through self-reflection. And I think the self-reflection was you valued more reflecting than actually acting out what we needed to do. So
Mm-hmm.
you're just putting a higher value on that question. And a lot of people before they start podcasting, they actually do that, and we call it delay. It creates delay, and it's like, how do you get from pondering, being in a state of pondering, to a state of action, right? And this
Right.
is not just for podcasting, this is just for anyone who has a dream.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we all have dreams, what do? We sit and we ponder our dream a lot. And what we're doing is we're finding comfort and value in
Mm-hmm.
just thinking about it and
Yeah.
just thinking about it. But we don't see the the value in the action of it.
In the action. Yeah.
And that is what I've discovered is what creates procrastination. So it depends on how you see it. I don't see it as a negative thing because I think the self-reflection is necessary.
Mm-hmm.
I think the pondering is necessary. So what I tell podcasters now, LaQuita, is I say, hey, that's a part of the creation process. It really is. I don't think anyone who's created anything that we see, a painting, music, a business or anything, that someone didn't really think about it first. Scripture talks about that. You need to count the cost first.
Yes.
So I think part of us improving on who we are is self-acceptance, right? So it's like, first accept that you are going to ponder and that you're going to find value in pondering. And I think if we accept that as a part of the creation process, I think that helps you get to the part of creating or acting out what you're pondering much sooner. That's what I've noticed over the last year and a half. Is like telling podcasters, hey, you know what? The persona, it's going to take you some time to really think about that. Take the time to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I give you a deadline. Say, hey, I give you a week. Just take the time to think about it. And then the other part is the help of get you from pondering to action is like saying, hey, whatever you don't finish, get on the phone with me and we'll finish it together.
That's good.
I wasn't doing that with you 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. I wasn't doing that with you. But I've learned to do that because I know that part of the creation process is the pondering.
Yeah.
Right. You have to procrastinate.
I like that. I like that puts some things in perspective because it, especially dependent upon the personality of the individual that you're dealing with. And like, for me, my personality is, I am a person that tries to do many different things at once. It's like you have to push the slow me down button. But at the same time, I'm also a person that does a lot of deep thinking, a lot of writing, a lot of reflecting, because when I show up, I want to show up as the best version of myself. Well, what is that best version of myself in this type of platform? What am I going to talk about? Who is my audience? How do I want them to see me? And then for me, and I think it's a lot of people, especially now, and it should have always been, that we show up authentically as ourselves.
Right.
And that because I have a business podcast and I have a lot of things going. I'm a very devout Christian woman with a whole lot of kids and a husband and some grandkids. Like, how can I incorporate all of that? How can LaQuita show up as LaQuita in the business space where I'm talking about personal development? It is a business podcast because we get the tips and the tools added to our toolbox in the end. But how can my Christian faith in who I am as a military spouse and a retired military spouse and mom and grandmother show up and add value outside of the four walls of the church? Like, that was the thing that kept flowing over in my mind. It's like, I don't want to seem like I am trying to be two different people. I'm one way over here in this podcasting space, and then I'm another way over, in the church space. I know, can I just be me in one space? And that really made me think a lot and overthink to a degree. Because you're right, it took us 6 months, y'all. 6 months of me paying money to be stuck in my head.
And I remember I called you and I threatened you.
Nicely. You did. It was so fun.
I said, yeah, I'm going to drop you. I was like, I'm going to drop you.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. Okay, get it together.
Remember that part?
Yeah. Get it together, girl. Get it together.
But it was in love, though, because we had developed a relationship because we spoke about everything else.
Everything. And that's the great thing about having a coach. Like, now that I have my podcasting network, there are clients that I have that, oh, I can do this. Yeah, you can. Go. It's a DIY thing that you can go and do yourself. Knock yourself out. And there's tons of people that do it. But what is your end goal? And so
Yeah.
for me, I understood the value of a coach, especially having a coach who was going to tell me the truth
Yeah.
and polite, as my grandmother say, put a polite fire under my behind. And that's what you did. You
Yeah.
put that a polite fire under my behind, and it kicked me in gear, and it made me put action to all of those notes that I had been taking,
Right on.
all
And
of the
because
thoughts
of
that I've
that,
been thinking. Yeah,
because of that, in LaQuita today, your podcast ranks in the top 2.5% globally.
praise God. In the past 2 years. Like,
Yeah.
because we started working together in 2021. That
That's
is when the podcast. Well, we started working together in 2020, y'all. Really, we did. The podcast did not come out to 2021, and it was because I was 6 months of 2020 stuck in my head
right.
and could not move forward, and I needed that extra kick,
That little
and that's
kick.
why.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important to build community. I know you from the beginning you were all about community, building rapport with other podcasters, having that podcast producer. That was one that I wanted, and two, because I am a speaker and a coach, there were a lot of intricacies about podcasting that I had no idea about. I came to
Mhm.
podcasting from live streaming once a week that was self-managed by me and Victor. That was easy enough. It wasn't the same as podcasting. And then having that conversation with you, I was like, oh, that's work. I don't have time for that. I want to do that,
Yeah.
but I don't have time for that. I just really pinning down the time in my day to batch record episodes was
Yeah.
enough, right? Then all the other bits that go with it. And so that's what I share with my clients. And I know, and I can share with them the things that you shared with me.
Right.
It's either I
Right.
can show you how to DIY this and go ahead, and I'm happy to consult with you from time to time if that's what you
Yeah.
want to do. Or you can be a part of this community
Right.
and we can help you get this out together to reach a bigger audience. I remember I was trying to go through my emails before in preparation for this episode, trying to see how many downloads I had with you guys before I transitioned to a different platform. And I
Right.
know it was I couldn't find it. So I think I got a good guesstimate in that first year. Well, first two seasons, I believe, um, with you guys. I don't know if you know, but I want to say it was over 10,000 downloads that I had even within that first year.
Yeah. It was a lot.
And
Yeah.
I couldn't have done that as an independent podcaster. When Ahmad told me I had to have show notes, I was like, "What's a show note?"
Show notes. Yeah. But the thing is, so just for this, so the audience can still follow us, right? So you pondered, right?
Mhm.
And
Uh-huh.
you had community, right? So
Mhm.
that's because that's what helps you defeat procrastination is
Mhm.
community, which that's what you had. And then you were also consistent. But
Mm.
before the consistency, but you also brought in a professional to
Yeah.
help. And I think that's the other part
Mhm.
that most podcasters in the space do not have a professional helping them.
Yeah.
Almost 85% of podcasters
Mhm.
doing it by themselves
Mhm.
through a free platform.
Mhm.
And they are unable to surpass 3, 5, 6 episodes and they quit. So I'm talking to the audience right now. If you are seeking to create a podcast or anything of your dream, and you're not getting a mentor or a coach or someone who is professional that you can delegate something to, 99% chance of failure rate.
Mhm.
You're not going to make it. You're not going to
Mhm.
make it if you're not tapped into someone or individuals who can take you to the next step. You just won't make it. You won't do it. There's not one business on earth that doesn't have employees and partnerships,
Yeah. And
right?
it's so very true. And like there are a ton of free ways to podcast. You could podcast from your phone,
Mm-hmm.
your tablet. Yeah, because I love what you said. consistency is key. Quality would be number 2, and partnership and collaboration for me would be 3 to make it be successful in podcasting. But the quality could come even at number 3. Quality doesn't even have to be number 2, because to get the quality, you're going to have the currency to get the quality. But if I can get number 1, number 2 will come. And number 2 has a tendency to almost always produce currency. Collaboration almost always produces an income flow, a monetization flow, to where now I can up my game. I can upgrade, because I did not start out with the mic that y'all see me with.
Right. And I don't recommend everyone starting with a Shure MV7 microphone. You don't want to start with that first.
No, we'll be crying every day talking about where is my money.
You don't want to start with the MV7, off the gate. You want to start with something, just in case you find out you can't be consistent. You don't, waste your money, because you have a mic arm, you have, you have all the equipment. And when you and I first started, we started with the bare minimum. Because
bare bones.
Could you imagine if you had started off with all of that, all of the equipment you have now when you and I first started? I don't think you would have continued, because you probably would have been like, man, I wasted money. It would have been a negative experience.
It would have been a very negative experience.
Right.
Very, very negative experience. And that's so, I hope y'all taking notes. Y'all need to be taking notes. If you're not taking notes, stop what you're doing right now. Go get something to write with and write on. Rewind this podcast and go back and start taking some copious notes, because podcasting to me is like any other business where you see business gurus on social media making it seem like it is so easy. And all you got to do is, I have a 10-step program, and if you follow these 10 steps, this is what's going to happen. No, it may be 10 steps. Like, we gave you 3 steps. It is taking me since 2020, since mid-year 2020 to today in 2023. It's the end of the year, y'all. It's until now to get to where I am in those 3 steps, and some of the steps fluctuate. Like, I'm in and out of each one of the steps at any given time. So having a professional on your team, in your network somewhere, like, okay, and to your point, we do need the professionals. But I do also understand, at the time when I first had the idea to have a podcast, I didn't have the finance to bring in the professional. So what do we have then? Groups. There are groups. There are people you can follow. Like, you have to self-educate and build yourself up to the point where, because when I initially talked to Ahmad, heard about his packages, and myself said, girl, you better sit down. Girl, you better sit down. No, like, because a part of the consistency is being able to consistently afford the tools you need in order to make this happen the way you want it to happen. So that required me to self-educate for a while. It required me to continue to do what I was doing before in order to earn the coins that I needed to be able to consistently afford the tools I knew I needed in order to be successful as an independent podcaster. And I'm going to keep saying independent podcasters, because one of the things, I'm going to drop this right here. I'm going to leave it in the atmosphere. You do what you want to do. A lot of our favorite YouTubers and podcasters at this point in their journey are no longer independent. They have collaborated with some major networks that help keep them in the 1 million, the 2 million, and 5 million downloads. That's a little secret. And it's not a big kept secret. It's just like something that we overlook. They tell us when we find out who their sponsors and stuff are. They tell us the whole time, but we're not understanding the language, so you don't realize they're no longer the independent podcast. I want to say, I was in a class one time, and the guy who was teaching a class, had went to another master class or something like that Mr. Beast did. And in this, if I remember correctly, Joey told us that in that class, one of the things that Mr. Beast, and for those of you that don't know Mr. Beast, Google him, then you will know Mr. Beast, right? He's an amazing YouTuber, podcaster.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Beast can spend several $1,000s to get one episode out, but he's going to recoup that.
Yeah.
So put it in perspective, and that's what Ahmad is talking to us about today. Put it in perspective of how you want to start. That's why you don't want to start out big. You want to start out little.
Start small. And if you have to do it, without a professional, this is first of all, I provide free one-on-one podcast training. So if you're interested in doing that, make sure you reach out to LaQuita so that she can give you, my email address, and you can put her name in the subject line. Just send me an email and say, hey, I want free podcast training. But I give free one-on-one podcast training because I know I've learned that many podcasters, have a financial barrier, and I currently price uniquely to that situation now, right? So I'm not only am I pricing it uniquely to that situation, but now I also help recoup the funds that you invest in your podcast. So I even have a program to help you make your money back, so that way you podcast with us for free. So we have that program now. So we totally understand, because only 1% of podcasters are really making money, and we're fighting against that actively. And going forward, any new podcaster with us, those who have already podcasting now, it's hard to kind of get them to change their mind and come back to the new program, but it's open to them as well. But every new podcaster comes in with us, it is ingrained with them that they will be podcasting for free with us. And we set them up for that. So that's what makes us uniquely different, is you podcast with us. The goal is to get you to podcast for free, and we set you up for that, and we have a program for that. But the point that I want to make is, so if you need to self-educate, then what you want to do is, as you're learning through groups, you still want to separate yourself, because you have this thing where it's the blind leading the blind, right? So unless you're already uniquely different and you already, beat on your own drum, like LaQuita, you beat on your own drum anyway, because you already was a business owner and you had different businesses, real estate, and you've already hired people and teams. So when you got into podcasting, you brought the wealth of your business acumen to podcasting. So that's why you was able to self-educate, apply, and then get a professional. But not everyone thinks like that. So this is my recommendation. What you have to do is you go into these groups, you read up on everything, right? It takes 20 hours to learn a new skill, by the way, 20 hours.
20 hours.
So take about 4 hours a day, and you embed yourself on everything you can learn about podcasting for a full week, 4 hours a day, or 2 hours a day for 10 days, whatever you need to do. After that, and you have these skill sets, what you want to do after that is you want to study broadcasters. This is your second best way of getting professional help, is by studying and implementing what you like about the broadcasters that attract you. So I used to, and I might have done this with you, LaQuita, I would say, hey, go listen to Oprah, or go check out, CNN broadcasters. Like I used to do that early in my career, right? Because I needed you to emulate what professionals do, and because if you start to emulate it and you start seeing what they're doing, you're like, wow, okay, what Ahmad is teaching makes sense. Like he's not just saying stuff out of the, out of his ears, I'm a Christian. So
like my husband would say, out of his fourth point of contact.
Yeah, there it is,
what that meant. I was like, that's just not right, sir.
I'm just trying to, it's a family. So, but that's what I'm saying is like, because when I say, hey, create a program clock and let's do these segments, and I start talking to you like this, I say, what's your
you were saying it, I was like, what are you talking about? Like,
right. Then I'm like, okay, who's your favorite, talk show host, or who's your favorite whatever, morning show, whatever, or even like if it's like, Wendy Williams at the time, like when she was out or something like that, or I watch the Kelly Clarkson show, or when Ellen DeGeneres was out. I'm like, hey, those were talk shows. Those were considered talk shows. So I would say pay attention to the energy and the vibe. And I remember one time I had a podcaster and she was talking and she just talked like, she was like, hi, my name is so-and-so, and this is my, and I would say, hey, look, I said, you're going to have to raise your voice.
Raise that energy.
Yeah. I said, if you were to stand next to anyone in my industry, if you stood next to them, you would do this. Because the way that they talk on the microphone, you would think that they're yelling. And
it came back to me several times with that too. Yeah. When I would batch upload, especially when in my first season, that was a big struggle for me. Was inflection.
Yeah.
And you were like, can you turn that up louder? Like, can you put it on your mouth, LaQuita?
Well, yeah, I remember that. Like, put the microphone. Like, yes, there it is. You remember?
Yes.
I want you to. At that moment, I needed you to kiss the microphone. I was like, kiss the microphone, because like sometimes because it takes time for you to get confident to talk on the microphone and get to the point to where, like right now, you have the microphone at the 35-degree angle where you're able to speak, so that way the air blows off away from the microphone, but it's able to pick it up. So you've taken the advice. Like even the way that the microphone is angled is exactly the way it's supposed to be done.
Because I took notes.
I mean, I'm just saying, I'm seeing it.
Like
it's clear as Bermuda water. Like all of that stuff matters. And this is the key, because I tell everyone like that if you podcast with me, I always say, welcome to the industry, because I'm going to treat you and talk to you the way that I was spoken to and how I was trained in the broadcast industry. But I'm going to tone it down. I'm going to be a little bit nicer, But but I did threaten you because I love you that much, and I saw your talent. So some people I do kind of come a little bit hard with. So
but that's what I needed. Like my personality type needed that, because if you kept holding in my hand, you would still probably be.
I was like, you're too. I said, you got the voice. It's like it makes no sense for you to not do this. So I got frustrated with me and you with your progress. I needed you to do well.
Yeah.
So,
but that's the benefit of having when we say professional, I think that's another thing. And you said it, like our personalities, we work well together. Even in the situation where I was probably whatever, and I have been the worst client for a lot of people. But we'll talk about that on another.
Yeah, it was frustrating.
Even in that, and I've had some clients like that. It's like, I don't even want your money like that. There are some, when you're picking a coach and picking a professional to work with, make sure that you and that professional, y'all don't have to be best friends, but at least y'all do need to have a relationship to where you get on. Like they understand you, you understand them, and you can actually receive the criticisms that you need to receive. Because we hear that word criticism or critique, and it's negative. No, it's not negative.
It's not. No.
It's not negative. He critiqued me, and what he said I needed to hear, because, and this I'm gonna say especially to people who are successful, to people who are gifted. You rarely get people to tell you the truth about yourself.
Yeah, that's good.
Let me say that. I rarely get people that are willing to tell me the truth about myself, because they don't want to offend me. They want to be in my space. And this is not bragging or anything like that, because wherever you at in your walk of life, everybody has a circle. And in your circle, that tends to be the people, people don't want to really tell you the truth. Your true friends will look you in your eye and tell you the truth and tell you to pick up your jaw and come on, let's go get a soda. You need your coach to be able to do that too. The professional that you're working with, and know that in your next session, you're going to work that out and you're going to show them some progress at the next session. And that was the other thing that I really liked about you. You checked my progress.
Yeah.
If I told you I was going to have something done by X, Y, and Z, you meant that, like, okay, you get that done. I will get a text message.
Yeah.
How that's coming along.
That coming
And
along.
usually when I got that text message, I hadn't done a thing. I'm standing on my head there like this cat. Right
Yeah.
here, Jesus, he is not letting up. And my
Yeah.
husband, and if you met my husband. My husband
Yes.
is
Very,
exactly
very good guy.
and exact polar opposite of me. And he was like, "Yep, I
Yeah.
like him."
Because he knew I was getting on him, getting on you.
Like, yep, I like him.
Yeah, because it was like, because the thing is, it was, and I'll tell you, and you're a coach, so you know, you can't do that to everyone. You know who you can do that with, because there's some people that you want to be honest with like that, but you can't because you know they can't handle it.
They can't handle it.
You know, and there's some people you want to be honest, but they really don't have it within them to even do it anyway. So you're like, it's a waste. So I'm throwing my pearls to pigs.
So you know, what I hear you say right there is expectation management.
Yeah.
You expect out of a person what they have the ability to give.
Right.
Even though it's like, man, I wish you could give me more. You already know that particular client can't give you more. No. So you've adjusted the expectation, your own expectation, and you're working with them to adjust their expectations, because sometimes we don't realize we really have met our cap, and that's all we have.
That's all, yeah. And I bumped into some of my clients where I'm like, okay, like this is legitimately the best you can do at this stage.
At this stage,
I will back up. Like, you know, I have a podcaster that, I mean, he's clearly ready for the next step, but he just won't do it. He just will not do it. He just won't do it. And I'm like, man, like, you're ready for the next step. But I just know, like, I mean, just back up, because if I tell him that hard truth, then I can lose a client, you know, obviously, but even worse than that, you know, maybe I might break that person's spirit.
Yeah.
If I go too hard, like, you know, some people you can go hard and it motivates their spirit. Like for me, you can go hard on me, and I'm gonna be butthurt at first, you know.
Yeah, like,
and then I'm gonna
people like, I didn't like when he said it, but I got it wasn't wrong. Like
right. Like I've had clients hold me accountable. Like I remember one time, like, number one, you told me. You got on me. Let's talk about you getting on me. Because I was like super busy. At some point, the tables had turned and you started killing it, right? and then you was like, look, Ahmad, like, you're gonna need to start delegating. You're gonna need to go get you a virtual assistant. You're gonna need to start doing this, because you're not gonna be able to continue, you know, X, Y, and Z, because, you know, kind of my armor was cracked, right?
Yeah.
So I have a virtual assistant today probably because of you. It was like, because it was you and another podcaster named Ralph. And I kept hearing it from other podcasters, the ones who I loved, and you all were loving me back, right? Yeah. So, because there goes again, it's like, because if you know you can say the truth to somebody, you can, and you know who you really, you know, appreciate. Yeah. And we had developed this relationship over, you know, several months in a year or whatever.
I think it was over a year, man. It was over a year.
It's like over a year now. So you're like, look, Ahmad, like, I like you, and I need you to delegate. So it was like you and like two other podcasts, but I know you and Ralph for sure. And today I have Liz. She's my only VA.
She's awesome.
Yeah, she is.
I know I got on Liz's nerves. Liz, if you listen to this podcast,
let me tell you, she's so kind. She's like, no, none of you all get on my nerves. Like, she is the best. She is absolutely the best. Would not be where I am today if it weren't for Liz. She's like, she holds me down. She gives me ideas, and she reaches out to everyone. So some of those reminder text messages and emails came from her, you know? So
yeah. So that's the beauty of it. Like, in this podcasting journey, we develop skill sets. Yeah. We hone in. The most important thing to me, I know that I would not have developed the consistency and the confidence needed if it wasn't for the community that was brought to the table. Like, with you, with Victor, with Adina. My first podcast intro, because when I was directly a result of Ahmad, because I had a 100% brain cramp, y'all. Like, it had overwhelmed me to the point where I was like, well, I am just not gonna have one because I don't know how to do this.
Yeah, that part. We hear that a lot. We hear
Yes.
that I work with podcasts. Again, I do this free, right? So they'll come in and I have like a survey and I'll say like, hey, what are the reasons why, you have not launched a podcast, and like I said, some of them will say like procrastination or imposter syndrome, fear, or exactly what you said. It's like, I don't think that, I will be heard. I don't think I'm valuable enough. I don't think I have a good story. I don't think I'm worthy,
Mm.
And it's like every single person is created by God.
Yes.
And that means you have something within you that is unique to you. And as you go through life, you create your own unique experiences. So you have something to say.
Yes.
Like no one's story is going to be exactly the same. Just like everyone's fingerprint is not identical. Like if God was to say your name would be written in Braille on your fingertips.
Mm.
And it's like, so yeah, there might be another LaQuita, but there's not another person named whatever your name is in Braille.
In Braille, yeah.
God has a unique name for you.
Yeah.
And you can look at it, and you have a voice, you have a story, you have something to say. So everyone can create a podcast.
Yes.
Everyone can.
Yes. And it is, I know there's so many other things. We're gonna have to come back and do a part 2 so we can get some more into the
always want me to do a part 2, LaQuita.
Have to.
My pleasure.
Yeah, it's so much we could talk about the intricacies of podcasting, and everybody can do a podcast.
Yeah.
A lot of people that are not podcasting need to be podcasting. And I remember it was a statistic because you were a guest were you a guest with me and Victor first, or were you a guest with me and Adina? I can't remember.
I think I was a guest with you and Adina first.
First.
No. Yeah, Adina. I think it was with Adina. Yeah.
So we were, and you had quoted us some statistics as it related to African-American female podcasters and African-American people of color in the podcasting space. And I can't remember what the statistic was, but I remember the thought. And initially, when you said it, my first thought was, wow, that few people. And then, wow, that much potential. It is, this podcasting space is still, people will say, oh, podcasting is flooded. It's really not.
No, it's not.
It's really not, because if it is 2.5 million podcasts out there right now, only 1% of them are active.
Something like that. Yeah.
Like 1 to 2% of them are active. And even out of that 1 to 2% that's active, only a fraction of those are what would be considered by the industry successful.
Correct.
Whether they are monetizing or they have a huge reach.
Correct.
What are their downloads? What is the consistency of their audience? Is their audience engaged? Like when you said I'm in the top 2.5% in my genre, that sounds great. That sounds great. But what does that really mean? Like things like that. That's what I want to talk about on the next episode.
Because we can really get into that because we're competing against celebrities.
Yes.
And if you don't compete with celebrities, then you just look at just us, like, and where we are in this space. I feel like podcasting should be categorically separated.
Right.
We need to be able to see, like, where do you rank among people with your experience level? And,
like they have the indie film festivals, and then they have
exactly.
Then they got Coachella and different things like that. Like you got big names showing up, rocking the house. But then in independent film festivals, the smaller independent film festivals, it's more equally, the playing field is more equal.
Correct. So then you'll know how well you really are doing, and then that helps with sponsorships and advertisements and stuff like that, because now they're saying like, okay, out of everyone that's in your space, maybe you are in the top 5, you know, maybe you're dominating so high, you know, but we don't, but they're grouping all podcasters together, and that's just not a legit to measure.
It's not a legit metric. I
No.
like that. It's not a legit metric because you know, people who have several $1 million pushing their podcast.
Correct. They're skewing the curve.
Yeah.
And that's how it is. It's like here's majority of the podcasters are here, and then here's you. It's a straight jump. You're in this space with these podcasters, and then there's another jump to where the millionaire podcasters are, right? Yeah. So it's not like a nice curve, you know. It's more like a
there
you go. I'm trying to do it.
It's like, come on now, it's not all.
You know, it's not. Yeah, whatever how that looked like. You know what I'm saying?
Like, it's because and I think it's like that right now. I'll make the excuse of it's like that right now because it is new. Like podcasting has been around a long time, but it hasn't been well utilized. 2020 made it more utilized.
Correct.
And you had a whole lot of people, because of COVID. You had a whole lot more people enter the industry, but to your point, you had a lot of people to leave the industry as well once more normal got back. And two, one of the things we talk about is the actual legwork required to make an independent podcast successful. How do you find your audience? How do you keep your audience engaged? All of those things that are required. And we're not talking equipment. We probably won't even ever talk equipment in these 2 episodes because it's kind of
that equipment. Equipment is the easiest thing to look up and research. Yeah, it is. That is the easiest thing to do, and that's what most podcasters do. They jump straight to the equipment. But I go against the gurus and I say, do not buy equipment. Educate yourself first and try to podcast just through your phone and just how do you feel and learn the structure of creating a show. Become comfortable talking, you know, on your show. Like those are the things that are more important first, which is what I provide for free now, that I help you do those things at no cost to help create that comfort level. So that way, whether you want to continue to podcast with me as your producer, or you want to self-produce or go to anyone, you know, go somewhere else, at least you would have had that foundation. And that's my goal, is to help, you know, bring in more quality hosts into the space, because it's horrible. 85% of the podcasters, man, sound like, you know, no offense, but they sound like trash. And you know, just being real in love,
yeah,
you know, that you really should work on your delivery before you start buying all of the equipment.
You got to figure out who you are in the podcasting space.
Right. Because you as a person, you're great as a person. You have talent. You have a story, you know. Everything that cannot be taught, you have to make a podcast great. It's just, we just need to work on the framework. And then after the framework, then we just need to pull out that gift. We need to pull out that voice.
Absolutely.
You know? And some people have it better than others, but everyone can have it if they choose to want it to be pulled out, you know? So bless you, LaQuita. And
wow.
I know, like
wow.
I mean, the audio listeners are like, what was that?
Well, yeah.
We'll edit that out. But for you, LaQuita, what makes you phenomenal is the fact that you apply. Like that's what I've always saw in you, even though like through the 6 months, you know, that we it wasn't that we still didn't work on the podcast, which is why my hope is, you know, was still there. Cause I know we kind of over exaggerated how the relationship was. That was just for entertainment purposes. Just little shock value. I mean, but we still talked about the show, and we brainstormed a lot. And I just think that's just what we did. And this is why, like, now I do that part free now. But we just brainstormed.
Yeah.
And so there was always something moving forward towards starting to record and whatnot, even though it was just maybe like, small increments. But for the most part, we still did move forward.
It was like, I would call it product research. Like, before any major company rolls out a new product,
right,
there's a lot of legwork and brainstorming and creative sessions that take place prior to, and it's a part of the product development.
Right. So I feel like you probably got to me a little too soon, if I think of it,
Probably. So, like, I was still in the idea phase in my head. Right. And I didn't have enough bones to bring to you to put the skeleton together.
Right. Because I think, like, the coaching, because, like, your coaching business, I think you were still developing that part as well, right? Like,
I was still developing my courses. Putting together. There was a lot of things I was still putting together from that. Like, and I didn't want to do a podcast on real estate. Like, I already had everything together for real estate, but I'd already spent 18 months. At that time, Vic and I were 18 months in, and we were already doing a live specific to real estate. So I didn't want the podcast to be specific to real estate because I was already doing that.
Gotcha.
I wanted the podcast to be something that was more reflective of my journey, and helping people in their personal development, because I believe that our personal development directly reflects our success in business. Right. And that's what I want the podcast. That's what I want LaQuita's Toolbox to be. Get me the tools, teach me how to use the tools, so that I can grow personally and professionally. And those of y'all that love that intro, Ahmad wrote it.
I remember that.
Yes. Ahmad wrote it, right? And he pulled one out of his back pocket. The first time I heard it, I was like, whoa, that's so nice.
Yeah. Yeah, writing is important in the industry.
Writing it, and because initially I spoke the intro.
Yeah, I remember.
And Ahmad blessed me with the gift. He got a voiceover artist that I know and love.
Yeah,
to do it, and phenomenal. I just love that version so much better.
She's phenomenal, Miss Adina Collins.
Yes, Miss Adina.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
So listen, y'all, it's so many things that we can talk about as it relates to podcasts, but I really, really love this conversation today because we delved into the important bits. Let's give people a clear picture of what it looks like to start as an independent podcaster, and talk about the emotional hills that you'll climb in this journey to get it started and to keep it going.
Right.
And, what kind of relationships we need to have and community we need to develop in order to maintain the consistency, in order to maintain the learning. Like, I'll give a shout out to Podfest because they're a great group.
Yeah.
A great group. Unfortunately, I won't get to Podfest this year. I was at the meetup in Austin, and I was supposed to come to Podfest and Capshovian Live, but I have the day that everything starts, because Capshovian Live starts first. I will be out of country. No, I won't be out of country. I'll be out of state with my husband at a different event. So I'm gonna miss it, but y'all are going. And those are the kind of things those are the things that you want to be a part of.
Yes,
community. That's an example. They're an amazing group of individuals with Podfest that you might want to tap in. And a lot of that stuff is free.
Yeah, a lot of it is. And Chris has a really good conference. The co-founder of Podfest. I had the pleasure of connecting with him and meeting and speaking with him at length, actually. We had a Zoom call, and he really cares about the podcaster.
Yes, he does.
To the point where he wants to get to know you by name, where everybody knows your name.
Yes, he wanted
Yeah, he's like the Cheers of podcasters. Yeah,
Yes.
so he really cares, and his partner Andrew is really great as well. Had a chance to connect with him via email several times. I had a podcast ticket that was given to me for free, and I ended up giving it to someone, and I didn't know if I was able to transfer my free ticket, and they was like, "Oh yeah, we'll honor that." So a lot of companies don't do that. It's like you get something free. That's like, no, if you don't go, you can't transfer it. So they were able to transfer it to someone else who's going to be able to go in my place. So, but LaQuita, if you ever get a chance to go back have you been to Podfest at all?
I've been to it virtually. Crazy thing.
Yeah,
I had a free ticket for this year, for January. I had a free ticket this year. And a lot of people don't know, but at the end of last year, October, November, December through January, I had a breast cancer scare, actually.
No way. Are you kidding me?
No, and because you taught me to batch create, that's how my podcast was still going. Because I was literally in and out of doctors between Killeen and Austin, Waco area. But, the Lord is faithful. So my free ticket was given to me by a great guy that I met on LinkedIn, Enrique Gonzalez. He gave me a free ticket to Podfest. So with that happening, I couldn't go to Podfest in person because I had all of those medical things going on. And then, so Podfest, the virtual event, was in spring of this year. And I went, and it was phenomenal. I learned so much.
Yeah.
That's how I actually found out about a tool that I use called Capshow. And they don't sponsor this, but they're an amazing group who are a part of Podfest. And I got to Capshow is awesome. So I got to meet them on the virtual stage in Podfest. I use their system. It is phenomenal. And I actually, Deidre and Bona moved to Austin. They live in Austin. So when the Podfest meetup was just a couple of months ago in Austin, they shot me an email, said, "Hey, you're coming out to Austin to the meetup." Initially, I wasn't, but me and my son were like, "Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go." And they were like, "Okay, we'll meet you there," because they're from Australia originally. So I'm like, they're gonna live Zoom in. So Chris was there, and in walks Deidre and Bona. Deidre I hadn't really spoken to, but Bona I had spoken to her a lot.
Right.
So I'm looking at her, she's looking at me, and we're smiling like, I did not know you guys moved to Austin. But getting to talk to them at length, being on Deidre's show and talking about my journey as a podcaster, how I use their tool to help with my SEO and generating organic traffic and stuff. It's so great to be a part of a community. There's so many people from with yourself and your team, and then meeting some other people who were a part of Podfest. Like Enrique was a speaker at Podfest last year or this year, January 2023. He was a speaker on one of the panels at Podfest. He and I knew each other. He introduced me to the Podfest community, and that helped to increase my consistency. It helped me to have a better understanding of all the ins and outs of podcasting and so many different things. So yeah, this is Podfest is a great community to be a part of.
It really is. I think Podfest will continue to grow. I think they're celebrating 10 years.
Yes.
In February. So I'm disappointed that I won't be able to go, but I have other arrangements that I have to attend to, So, but that's the benefit of a founder. You can pass something on to someone else, and they can go on your behalf. So I've been able to. I mean, LaQuita, I now have 7 individuals on my team now. So
that is awesome.
Yeah, and we're growing. I'm looking for number 8 this year in 2024. My goal is to give someone my spot. So so I want someone to handle the onboarding of the podcasters, so that way I can focus more on our enterprise business. So, as a matter of fact, I just got my 8th person out. I think about it; it'll be official next year. But we're onboarding a person who's going to be our enterprise solutions architect, who will be helping us to acquire enterprise businesses who need podcasting services.
Podcasting services. That's
right,
awesome.
right. So we're gonna go for the big fish out in the blue ocean right now. So
they're already yours, sir. They're already
yours. It's LaQuita, it is so interesting that when you and I met, it was just me and one other person when we first met. It was me and Kevin. Yeah. And now we're 7 strong. I have so that advice of delegation, I took that seriously. so hopefully we hit our goals of helping a lot of podcasters next year. So anyone who's listening who wants free help, because that's what we want to do, is just want to help you out for free, and just kind of help you with the foundation. And then anyone who continues to podcast with us, the goal is for you to podcast with us for free. Continuously. We want you to cut your costs or have it pay for itself. Like, that is exactly the program that we have right now going into 2024. And we have about 16 new podcasters that we're onboarding next year. And hopefully all of them will be podcasting at no cost.
At no cost.
Yeah. They just got to follow the framework.
Follow the framework, baby. Follow the framework. You have to get back on my calendar, get another time, lock it in so we can go in and deep dive into some of the intricacies of the actual what makes a podcast function. I want to talk about that too, because I love the podcasting dream. I love everything about it. And I want to encourage more people into the space that can be successful. But you know me, I like to be realistic up front. Be realistic up front so people can properly plan. And because when we properly plan, then that leads to success. And we don't want people to come in thinking it's you just do 1, 2, 3 and boom. Why don't I have any downloads? It's a little bit more than that. So we want to set you up for success in the beginning.
A little bit more than that. Yeah, you're going to have to. Yeah, that's the other part. So yeah, I'll talk to you when we come back about how we have a marketing program now for our podcasters. A done for you. So we have done for you podcasting, and now we have coming up a done for you marketing for your podcast.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yep. All you do is talk, we work. That's the goal. We don't want you to do any work. Just let it go.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Well, Ahmad, thank you so much for coming to the podcast today.
You're amazing.
I can't wait for part 2. It's going to be phenomenal. Look, y'all, if you have not subscribed to the podcast, hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast listening platform so that you can receive notifications when my podcast drops every Tuesday. New episodes come out every Tuesday. You don't want to miss it. Right. But until next time, I'm your host, LaQuita Mondley. You guys be great and have an amazing, amazing rest of your day. Take care.
All right. God bless.
God bless you guys.